My name's Charlie Hoops. Got two college students of my own. A older son's a first-year grad student at the University of Arizona, studying atmospheric science. My younger son is a freshman at Shippensburg, doing business information systems. But today we're going to talk about games and themes. So, do I advance this myself here?
Yes.
Okay. Yay! So starting out here, what are some of your favorite games? Anyone?
Monopoly.
Monopoly? Okay. What else?
2048.
2048? Okay.
Dominion.
Dominion? Okay. Well-known game. Any other ones? So what are you doing in that game? Dominion, what are you doing?
Building a deck.
Okay, you're building a deck. Monopoly, what are you doing?
Accumulating assets.
Accumulating assets. 2048, what are you doing?
Pushing numbers together.
Pushing numbers together, okay. Different ways to explain games. And typically whenever designers talk about games, there's two different things we'll talk about. We'll talk about the theme, we'll talk about the mechanics. The theme is typically, what is the game about? It's like, you're breeding dragons to try to get the fiercest red dragon, you know, or you're trying to manipulate the real estate market, you know. Designers also talk about mechanics. What are you doing? Well, you're collecting 4 red cubes, and you get 4 red cubes that get you a green cube. Collect 4 green cubes that get you a blue cube. So, different ways to talk about games, and as designers, we have to think about both of them. Mechanics is how the game actually works. It's what people are doing with the game and whether it's engaging or not. But theme can make a difference. Games about dragons, kind of cool. Games about changing diapers, anyone going to buy that game? Probably not. Oh, we got one in the back, but other than that, no. And so what I want to talk about today is actually how you actually keep the same game, keep the same mechanics, yet actually change the theme to a game. Because as designers, there's times we have to do that. So, some common games. I hope you know some of these. Who here has played Ticket to Ride before? Okay, a handful. So Ticket to Ride, you can describe that game as building a railroad. You're trying to, basically you have a bunch of stations, you got a map of the US or a map of Europe, a bunch of stations you're trying to connect. And so you talk about railroad building. But when you actually get down to the mechanics of the game, all it actually is you're collecting enough cards of a certain color so you can actually put your round on the board, and then making a path between different cities. Okay, Carcassonne, anyone played that one? Like, we'll skip that one then, no problem. Pandemic, love Pandemic. Pandemic is basically a cooperative game. So people describe it as cooperative because everyone's actually working together instead of competing against each other. Either you all win together or you all lose together.
What if you played Forbidden Island?
Okay, Forbidden Island. Yeah, another cooperative game where again you're kind of working together. But in the end, that disease control is just a theme to put over top the game. What it's really about is I got to collect, 4 cards of this color to cure the yellow disease. I got to collect 4 black cards to cure the black disease. And there's also a word called abstract. If anyone talks about abstract, abstract is just a game that has no theme. Tic-tac-toe is an abstract game. Chess is an abstract game. I'm trying to think, what are some other ones? Yahtzee is not an abstract game, where basically all you're doing is just collecting dice. So you can make games that have no themes called abstracts. A little bit harder to sell to publishers in today's environment. So, the question is, I may have already given this away. Think of a game that you like and you play now. Could you change the theme to that game without changing any of the mechanics, without changing what you actually do? Rolling dice or dealing the cards or collecting sets of things. Do you think you can do it? Oh yeah, you can do it. It's been done. How many different versions of Monopoly have you played and have you seen in your life? Is there a Bethany Monopoly? A lot of college campuses have their own Monopoly game. I know Bethany's a smaller college. Do you have your own Monopoly? Okay, you got an opportunity there. You can do that. Now, what I'll say about these rethemes is they're kind of like rethemes. They're weak rethemes. Because what's Monopoly in itself? Monopoly, in essence, is about real estate, trying to corner the market. If you get all the same property colors, you get to increase the price. Whereas when you look at some of these rethemes, Seinfeld, Hello Kitty. How much does Seinfeld or Hello Kitty have to do with actually buying real estate? Very little. And so they gave it the theme. And when you get one of these games, did you have to reread the rules? No, you already know how to play Monopoly. It's just different artwork, a different theme to a game you already know. So, not to put you on the spot, but wrong page down. Dominion. What's the theme of Dominion?
I guess it depends on the expansion.
Okay.
Or what cards you use.
Mm-hmm. But basically it's medieval kingdom building, right?
Yeah.
You can change the theme of that? Could it be something other than? Sure. You can make it outer space. You can make it some mythical land of dragons. All kinds of ways you can change the theme. Okay. Ticket to Ride. A game all about laying tracks between stations and building train routes. That could just as easily be trucking routes. That could just as easily be newspaper deliveries. All kinds of things you can do where you change the theme, but the actual rules of the game itself, the actual way the game plays, doesn't change. Okay. So why is it important as a designer? Twice I've been fortunate to have a publisher tell me, we love this game, we love the way it plays, we like what people do with it, but we just can't take that theme. You need a different theme with the game. And then it becomes a challenge of how do you actually find the right theme to match what the game is already doing. My very first attempt, like the second or third game I made, was a game called Attatat. Pure abstract. Basically you had these 25 number tiles, you had some cards for each of those tiles, like so maybe in your hand you've got like 1 and 6 and 14 and 15. And then on your turn, you're just laying down some planks to try to make a path between two of your tiles. If you complete that path between those tiles, you basically pick up one plank each along the way. That gives you your points. But the fun thing is that you're actually allowed to use the planks that other people laid down to make your paths. So even if you're the blue player, if you need a red plank to make your path, you pick it up, it becomes part of your score. So, had a publisher, really liked the game, but said abstracts never sell. They say abstracts never sell. Well, if you know a game called Quirkle sold pretty well as an abstract. But by and large, publishers will tell you abstracts don't sell. We need this game to be about something. What are you going to make this game about? And so I put on my thinking cap because you can keep your artistic integrity and say, no, my game is my game, and nobody changes it, and you can publish that or you don't publish it at all. Or you can get your game published, you can go to the publisher, okay, yeah, if you want a theme, I'll give you a theme. So, but again, it's finding a harmony between the theme and the mechanics. You want a theme that kind of matches what you're doing, in the game. And had some challenges here because if you're trying to find another theme, you're trying to find a theme about building paths, lots of things you can do that. Electricity grid, computer circuits, electrical circuits, roadways, highways, sewers, water systems, all kinds of reasons you can find where you actually want to build a path between two destinations. The problem I had with Attatat was, in my game, after you made the path, you picked it up, you destroyed it, and it was kind of hard to find a theme. Why would you destroy a path after you make it? Once you make that highway system, once you make that sewer system, you want to keep it there. Why would you actually get rid of it? So, took a few tries. My first try, I even keep the name, King Attatat. Make it ancient Egypt. There was no King Attatat, but King Tut is kind of close. Give us some Egyptian theme artwork. actually went and did the research and find out there are like 5 primary colors in Egyptian art. And so instead of numbers 1 through 25, it was 5 different icons, 5 different colors, 5 icons, 5 colors, 25 different tiles. I was good. Looked pretty, looked prettier than just numbers from 1 through 25. But in the end, if you replace your 1 through 25 with colors and symbols, is that really giving it a theme? Or is that just an abstract a little prettier to look at? It's still an abstract. So that one was not a go. I couldn't find any good story, good reason. Like why are you an ancient Egypt? Why are you connecting these paths between a pyramid and a bird? And couldn't do that. My next attempt was walled cities. Earlier in my life, before children, my wife and I spent some time living and working in Europe and seeing all kinds of walled cities in Europe. Loved going to the places that had the old city walls. And so what it did is instead of 1 to 25, instead of Egyptian symbols, and now it was different European cities we knew that had walls around them, like Rothenburg and Chester and York, and a whole bunch of other ones. And then I said, okay, let's go medieval era here, and instead of planks, we're going to pretend these little cubes are actually resources, things you want to bring into the city. Food you want to bring into the medieval city, wood you want to bring into the medieval city. And there's going to be some great calamity, like maybe there's a comet in the sky and everyone's scared that something's going to happen. So you bring all the resources in the city, and then you close the gates so that no one else can get in. And the theme worked. And so the theme worked. I love the theme. Other people love the theme. Publisher didn't. Scratch that one. Try again. But again, I found a theme that actually kind of fit the mechanic of there's not a reason to actually remove the paths because you're putting the resources into the city. There's a reason to actually take some of the tiles out of play. There's a reason for the city to shut the gates. So I was trying to find a theme that matched what I was doing in the game. Okay. So, final theme. This actually wasn't from me. This is from the publisher. They said, do this one. I said, okay, I can make that work. It became Sweet Success, which is now, instead of walled cities, we had different destinations in the city where delivery wants to make bakeries to. The residential sections, the schools, the stores, everything else. And so our tiles are now different places in town. And instead of planks between the tiles, we're now going to have ingredients. Fruits and nuts and cream and cinnamon, I can't remember, and chocolate. And the idea is that now you're putting the ingredients along the roads. Whenever you make a delivery, you pick up ingredients and you make something else. And then we also add an element where you can actually turn in ingredients to make a recipe. And that's the game that's going to be Sweet Success. The publisher is currently saying Kickstarter in 2020. We'll have to see. But that's where I went to. Went from a game that looked like that to a game that in the published version is going to look like that. And a very different look to it, very different description to it. Now you're collecting ingredients to make recipes. Who doesn't want to do that? But all kind of the same rules, the same mechanics behind the game itself. My second attempt, Lady of the Diamonds. So I made a game that was gem themed. So the idea is that everyone's collecting gems. And suit maximization, what I'm doing with suit maximization is that, well, first of all, it's an open draw pile. So there's 4 cards face up on the table. You pick which card you want to take. If you pick a card, two sapphires in your hand, then you add 2 sapphires to your little. I knew I'd do that. You add 2 sapphires to your tableau here. Pick up a card with 3 rubies on it. You'd add 3 red gems to your tableau here. And the idea is that whoever has the most gets this little card that's got some points on it. So you pick up a card with 2 rubies. You've got 2 rubies in your hand. You have the most rubies. You get that card. You keep that card until somebody else actually gets three rubies in their collection. So just suit maximization. So it's a very simple game, but ended up being very child friendly, and had a playtest event, the Big Gun Pub in Baltimore, several years back, where there were children actually as young as 6 who were like nailing this game, and they were vicious. I mean, they were like tearing. Their parents were giving them mercy, and the children were giving no mercy back. So, again, publisher said, love the game, don't like the gem theme. Splendor was coming out right about that time, and so they didn't see much room for another gem theme game in the market. But if you can retheme it, we'll publish this game. Except that they had this publisher called Escape Velocity. They've been doing a lot of games where classic literary novels, and then the game itself actually comes in this little box that opens up like a book, and you pull everything out. And so if you can take this game and you can make it fit a literary classic in the public domain, small publisher, they can't afford copyrights. You know, we'll publish the game for you. It took me months to think about this one, because that was. So I had to think of something where you were collecting things, where you wanted to get the most of something. You wanted to have these title cards you wanted, and also had to be a literary classic that a 6-year-old would know. I can think of lots of literary classics. How many are 6-year-olds familiar with? All it came down to was, what 6-year-old doesn't know The Wizard of Oz? You go to the movie. The movie's copyrighted. Believe me, the movie's copyrighted. The book series that the movie is based on is not. Fell in the public domain. And so Land of Oz, it was, where I could basically take the same game, do it in a literary classic theme, something even 6-year-olds know, so it can actually be family friendly. Another Kickstarter, hopefully coming up in 2020. This is my crude prototype art, where it's free internet clip art. The real game will have nice art with it that I didn't draw or copy from the internet. So, how do you go about retheming a game? This one is fairly simple. Obviously, so basically what I have on the left, on your left, is all the original Lady of the Diamonds pieces. On the right is the Lands of Oz. So basically, whereas before I had suits of things like diamonds and rubies and sapphires and emeralds, now it had to be things like, diplomas for the Scarecrow, and hearts for the Tin Man, and medals, courage for the Lion. So had to change the suits to it. Had to change the title. So, the little card you get whenever you have the most of something. So now instead of King Ruby being worth 3 points, it's Tin Man is worth 3 points if you had the most hearts at the end. And if you actually look at the tableaus where you kept track of how many you collected, you can probably see the similarities there. Still that same basic form, just different artwork with it. And then because I had this thing where the book's in the public domain, the movie is not, had to be careful about differences between the books and the movies. So while in the movie everybody knows the ruby slippers, if you actually go to the book, it's silver slippers. And so had to make little changes like that. This is bad. I put the text towards the end. The text is the most important part. But the point I wanted to make here is if you look at the rule books, it's not that big of a change. So where in Lady of Diamonds, because of the gem theme, I was talking the gem pit and the gem deck. Well, now there are no gem pits and gem decks, and now it's just the table and the deck. So in many cases the exact same rule, just slight terminology changes to actually fit that theme. That we're not talking about diamonds and gems anymore. We're talking about Lands of Oz. And then a few other cases where it had to be slightly bigger changes, where in the original game, anytime you took a card with a single gem on it, it had a gold, and that's the only way you could get gold, to actually get the gold bonus. So those became silver slippers. Pearls I was kind of using as wild cards in the original game. Linda's wands, kind of made for nice wild cards. You got a little magic there, you can do whatever you want. So just a few changes like that. That's how Lands of Oz became Lady of the Diamonds. Again, when you sometimes retheming a game is what you have to do to get the game published. And my last thing, being the the parents of a college freshman, feel free to like text or call your parents about this. You don't have to talk about this all. Just they might like to hear from you. But yeah, I get the same look when I tell my son that too. That's okay. I had to try.